Welcome to Kageyo washing station. This is not far from Ngororero, in a district that doesn't have a ton of coffee, but has some fantastic quality. Just so beautiful here. So we've been buying Kageyo for quite a few years now, and they have a pretty consistently good quality. The issues in some years because of weather and some other problems is we've had more potato defect from their coffee. So right now they're sort of finishing up the season. These are some of the last lots to come into the station that are on the drying beds. And Kageyo's an interesting situation. This is their warehouse, which is considered quite large and fancy. And what happened was it was a cooperative, and the co-op went bankrupt because they had bank money for their lending for construction, but they overspent on their warehouse and they didn't really have enough coffee that they were buying and turning out from this community to fund, to sort of, basically have success, pay their loans, pay their farmers, etc. So what the company we work with, RTC, did here was they came in and they bought the station where I am right now from the co-op, but the co-op maintained their structure and their farmer base as the supply source for the washing station, so though they don't own this anymore, they still exist, and they're still actually doing quite good, or doing better. They didn't get completely destroyed by their business decisions of the past. But what they need this year is money to rebuild, and that needs to come from the coffee. Rwanda Trading kind of is they just have a strong social mission. While they're a private company, they're not sort of like extracting everything they can from the process. They're trying to make these stations successful. So they're not, of course, they'll fund this, but they expect the farmers to be part of that and contribute in some way. And so what we're trying to do is raise some money to help for the farmer contribution in that process. And so this year, when we sell Kageyo, we're going to tack on a small amount, probably 10 to 20 cents, and then from what we from our side, we'll probably double whatever we are sort of increasing it for. What we're looking essentially for our customers, like you buy a pound of Kageyo, we add 10 cents to your price. We contribute 10 cents, so they get 20 cents a pound, and then that goes towards rebuilding. And one of the issues here is they need to rebuild. They need more storage here for their fermentation. They need a new washing channel that's longer. And what they really actually have to do is they have to buy this farmer's land here in order to do this correctly. And that's been hard to get this guy to sell. He's a member of the co-op, but he's, they wanted to do it last year, but they couldn't because he wanted to harvest his coffee and corn for this year, and then he said, no, I'll sell at the end of the season. So part of the funding is to get this land. This is an older hand pulping machine they use for the seconds. This is a modern Pinago system for low water consumption, which is really good because we're up here on a very high peak. Everything has to come from uphill, from down low. There's very little water up here. So this system's really appropriate and smart to have. And yeah, Kageyo is probably the highest altitude station we buy from in Rwanda. I think we're over 2,000 meters here. And most of the coffee comes from the tops of the hills in this area. We see very little coffee. Hey, little lizard. See very little coffee down low as we come up. We actually go through a tea land to the coffee, which is normally the opposite. You go normally through coffee, and then you get to the higher altitudes where they grow tea above the coffee where it's too cold. So really unique coffee, and I wanted to make a video to talk about the project to help them redo all of this. So hopefully when I come here next year, my video will be different, because we won't be looking at this, we'll be looking at something much more appropriate for producing a greater volume of quality coffee. Kageyo.